Do you consider Ice Spice to be a good representation of the Bronx or a good role model for kids?
I think that Ice Spice is being exploited, and what they're doing with her is disgusting.
Really?
And she's a beautiful girl. I think Ice Spice is very, very beautiful. And I think there's no reason for her to have to be on stage showing her pussy. I think it's disgusting. And it's like, it's hard to tell your daughters not to be this way when they influenced by her. The power of influencers is like raising children in the hood takes a village. And sometimes the kid might have the mom and the dad in the house, but the kid is not going to listen to the mom or dad because nobody likes to be told no. And the influence on outside life in the streets and in the music industry is like, I tell people all the time, Snoop was one of my favorite artists, but I couldn't understand why Snoop would always say, bitches ain't shit but hoes and trick, but he been with his wife for 30 years.
I've been fucking a lot of other bitches along the way too.
If Snoop would have told, but you know what? We understand that part, but
sure.
One thing he didn't tell us was like, yo, cherish your woman. Snoop, you cherish. If Snoop would have told me to put some respect on these women, I would have.
There's a lot of lyrical content, if you go back to Doggy Style and The Chronic, that would be almost unthinkable by today's standards. And in some ways, rap has gotten more antisocial, more destructive, I think. But also, when you go back to those projects, there's a lot of skits on there. Even just the bitches ain't shit thing in general. That's kind of hard to stomach as a father and a grown-up.
My mother caught my NWA tapes and broke them.
I had that experience as well.
You wasn't playing. I couldn't play that. If my mother caught me playing NWA in the house, man.
Right.
But I loved NWA.
I remember my dad smashing Tupac CDs and breaking them with a hammer. It's a very painful memory in my mind.
But you know what though? Tupac was a little bit different though.
Yeah. He could have picked a better artist to go
Yeah,
after.
Tupac was a little bit different though. You gotta love, like Tupac had some songs that you could really play, like Dear Mama. Brenda's Got a Baby. He had some, like it took for Tupac to really get shot to get on the ignorant shit. So he had 4 albums of good quality music before he came out with All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli.
Right. Which is, let's be fair though, those are kind of like the most celebrated projects. So like the era in which he like made the most hits was basically like Me Against the World, and then the other albums that came after that is like once he really got into his gangster bag is when it seems like people really embraced him.
Right.
You know, for better or for worse. Okay, so you were part of a very historic podcast when you and Wack and 6ix9ine all sat down. What was your impression of 6ix9ine at that time, and how have you felt about seeing, seems like not a lot good has happened to him since then?
Yeah, I just seen like, the IRS ran up in his crib.
Yeah.
I wish him the best of luck with that, because that's a problem right there. That's a good problem and a bad problem. You done made some money, but now they want their money. With Tekashi 6ix9ine, but I try to tell people all the time, the reason why I got behind Tekashi, I didn't care what nobody say. I didn't look at Tekashi like he was a rat. I looked at Tekashi as if he was a young boy that was misled. The dudes that raised me wouldn't have allowed Tekashi 6ix9ine to get caught up in that much bullshit. Tekashi would have been behind the bag, but the niggas that raised him was foul. Allegedly fucking his girl, have this nigga calling hits. Like, he's not built like that to do that.
There was no guardrails. Nobody was going to stop him from doing that shit. Even though he had no legitimate claim to really be doing that kind of shit. He was this like brand new addition to the gang. You would think that if you were a gang and you were bringing in this little SoundCloud rapper or whatever, that you would at least have the backbone to not let him be doing all this bullshit that was going to get you caught up. But once that the allure of that clout and that fame and that viral energy was just like too much for them to turn down.
If Tekashi 6ix9ine would have still been with Shotty, he'd be one of the biggest rappers in the game right now. He can't get over that stain, so now he has to go over to the Latin countries and communities and start rapping, because the reality of it is nobody's gonna play his shit. Right now, he's solely surviving off of tours.
What were your thoughts on all the Brooklyn drill rapper type dudes? I ended up interviewing one of them, Don Stacks, who was the one who actually coined the phrase, "This the only rat we jackin'," which was mind-blowing to me that he said that at that time. But he had this whole little army of Brooklyn dudes around him at that time. What was your impression of them and what their arrangement seemed to be?
Well, I think Don Stats have talent, and I think that Tekashi should have did better by him. He should have pushed that young boy a little bit more and done better by him because he has talent. And I feel like in that situation, I feel like Tekashi 6ix9ine, what he did was foul because now we dealing with a older Tekashi. You took those boys, you went to Brooklyn, you shot videos with them. What you don't know is behind the scene that some of them boys had some issues back in Brooklyn. I'm not going to talk about it because it's the streets, but they had some issues. They had dudes going through their neighborhoods with guns, and some of them got locked up with guns, and shit got ugly.
Yeah, and even when the interview I did with Don Stacks, he basically said that at one point 6ix9ine had a house that they were all living in Miami, and then one day, boom, it's just they're kicked out of the house. 6ix9ine hasn't talked to him since, and I'm like, wow, these dudes were useful to you when you were kind of trying to craft this drill rapper persona for you, like after the whole Treyway thing and everything. He kind of used them for a while. And then when it was time, when he realized that this wasn't going to really pan out, he just kind of left them for dry.
He gave them a death sentence.
Yeah.
He gave them a death sentence because if things fall apart out there in Florida and them young boys got to come back to Brooklyn, 9 times out of 10 they're going to die or go to jail because he involved them in some shit that he shouldn't involve them in. And if he knew he wasn't going to do right by them, he should have never pulled them into that world.
Definitely.
Because the reality of it is after you went to jail and you knew you couldn't stand the rain and you wasn't going to stand tall, you snitched. You should have never played street anymore. There's no reason.
Definitely. So I wanted to ask you about this. I saw a clip where somebody asked you about me. And because I was searching up your name and my name because I was like trying to find, I'm like, there must have been some chatter about me over the years. And I was actually surprised to see that your reaction about me was basically that I was putting a lot of guys from like, a gang background or a hood background or whatever. It was kind of putting them in a position where they could learn to fish, your words. And I was impressed that you said that, or I appreciated that you said that, because I feel like I'm so often hearing people kind of like frame my content as being inherently negative. Whereas I feel like there are a lot of people that I've put in this, in this game and kind of like showed them how to fish, like you said. And, I love that process of kind of showing them that they can make money off of their personalities on social media and everything. And if anything, I feel like New York would probably be in a better position if there was more people who were willing to take chances on unknown personalities and get them to talk about their lives on camera. Was there ever a time where you were looking at No Jumper like it was entirely negative enterprise, or have you always thought that it was basically a positive thing?
I would only have to judge No Jumper or Vlad based on the situation and not overall. When I judge you, it's like I said, you teaching dudes how to fish. When I sit back and I analyze now, let's look at some of the platforms that rise and fell. I've never seen some of these other platforms put anybody on. They might do an interview, but giving them slots and actually letting them represent for their channel. That's like, for example, shout out to Doggy Diamonds. We ain't fucking with each other, but just imagine if he would have said, okay, I'm not going to be the only selfish fucking content creator on my YouTube page. You got 24 hours in a day. Gully TV. You got 24 hours in a day. If you're not posting, there's nothing else on your page. Me, I be posting all types of other dudes and helping out all types of other dudes to get ahead. You got the old 50 move. You got so many people that I helped. Unique Mecca Audio. Like, it's so many people that I can sit up there and say that I actually gave a chance to shine, and now their channels is moving forward and they're growing.